think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Fucking moronic comedy.
Yeah.
Like, they opened up with that fucking... He did a split kick, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and started screaming in the face of, like Birdmen. It was fucked. I cracked up. I couldn't stop laughing.
There was screaming goats.
The goats? What even was happening? Anyway, the whole thing.
That's actually apparently in myth. He had goats.
Yeah. What's his nose? Walter Simonson loved all that shit, and he was the guy that brought the goats in, I think.
Nice.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, like, it wasn't what I expected, but I certainly wasn't disappointed, and I'm okay for a pure comedy. Like, if you're gonna do a comedy well and actually like make me get in stitches laughing at like idiotic stuff, okay, I'm here for it. That's fine. It's not like I give a shit what Marvel was up to. Like, you're gonna give me like some self-important like half-ass Captain America story. Like, I already saw the Avengers. You did it as best you could with Thanos and so on and so forth. That's played out. Now give me some dumb shit.
Those first two Thor meetings were so stuffy and boring. Like, fuck that shit.
Ragnarok was better than this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying it was a comedy. Ragnarok was a comedy though. Yeah,
this was a comedy farther reaching even into comedy.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I thought again, I haven't seen. One.
Jeff Goldblum. If you're gonna put Jeff Goldblum in a movie, you got me snickering.
Yeah, I think he's just a funny guy.
He stole the fucking show in that
Asgard?
movie too. Yeah.
Asgard.
Yeah.
Asgard. Ooh, sparkle fingers.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you'd seen Ragnarok. Did you? What was your verdict on that one?
What, me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, I love that movie. I thought the action again was fucking boring. Anytime it turned into pew pew space stuff, I was fucking checked out. But everything else, really excellent. One of the best Marvel movies for sure, of the ones that I've seen. I haven't seen any of the.
You know what? It's a pretty stiff benchmark. It's got to be one of the best ones, I think.
Yeah. Well, the best one, since I like to stay in touch with recent movies, as you guys know, I finally watched Enter the Spider-Verse, and I loved that thing from top to bottom. That was fucking really good. I had a great time. I thought the animation was fantastic. The story was good. It had everything that I want to see from a superhero movie. And yeah, and that just came out this year, right? That's a new one, right?
Sorry.
When did that fucking come? 2015 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That movie's brilliant. That really is.
Yeah. Just like the best Spider-Man. Like when Miles finally starts doing his Miles shit and the music starts pumping and he jumps between those two buildings. Like, it's just like, I'm like, why aren't you always doing this? Why aren't you always doing this with the action of these superhero movies? That
was cutting edge animation though too. That was like that's like an experimental animation style. Not experimental, but I mean like more of an art. It was a riskier style of animation too. It was really cutting. It was good stuff.
You guys know who the creative team is on that?
Oh.
Yeah, like 5 different people.
No. But it's Lord and Miller, the guys who did Clone High. That's where they started.
Oh no shit! Oh, make a makeover. All right, okay, that's funny.
They're fucking amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
21 Jump Street. Yeah, they did that reboot. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball. If you've had the chance to indulge in those, they're good kids movies.
I might give myself a little Cloudy with.
Watch it with Matthew. He'll like it. They're really charming.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. Like, I'm not going to go check that shit out for my own edification. I've read that book far more than I care to have. Yeah. And then also, since another recent hit that I've just finally caught up on is Blade Runner 2049, which was I was surprised how much I loved it. I've essentially watched it twice. It's a 3-hour movie that I've watched twice, and I liked all of it except for the last 20 minutes, which it kind of turns into Mel Gibson fighting in the rain, essentially, and the twist didn't really like zap me the way it ought to have, the way I think the movie thought it was going to zap me.
You're talking about Batista falling in love and having a weird robot baby and emotions?
Well, the Batista has nothing to do with it. He was just the caretaker. But yeah, like, no, the idea that
I thought it was established that he was like his father and that they fell in love.
No, oh no, not at all, man. You got to rewatch that movie.
It's been a while. Might just be making all that up.
Yeah, I think so. I think memory is an active creature, and you make it by feeling it. You didn't feel it enough, man, or you felt it a lot. Made it all up.
Maybe I felt it too much. I want Batista to be my dad.
We all do.
In a way, he is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we? Anything else on the docket? Do we want to jump? Oh, wait, Chris, you wanted to tell us maybe a bit about, or did you want to wait? You were reading that Clark book. Is that a?
Yeah. I'm not quite done, and maybe for our next project, that'd be a good intro.
Okay, excellent. Well, then I just want to give some shout out on something that actually is recent. The new Tom King Supergirl book. Fantastic. Not a complaint about it. I don't have a fucking complaint about it. Looks good, reads good, entertaining top to bottom. Loved it. So it's it's not like high art, it's not like reading about Sandman or anything like that. But,
oh.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, where are we today? Sandman, The Sandman, Volume 2,
we're in Dream
Country. No, we're in Volume 3, aren't we?
See, you guys always do this to me, but there was an original Sandman comic, which would have been Volume 1.
Here we go.
This is, in fact, Volume 2, and these are issues 17 through 20, July to October of 1990. Now, I promised sales charts, but I couldn't. There's nothing for 1990. It's a vacuum of sales charts. So I don't know what's going on. We'll return to that show later. When we get to the Seasons Mist. But I don't know. What do we want to do with this one? How do we want to open up? Are we going to do, I guess, it's four. James, what did you think of it?
I like this one. This reminds me of more like what I think Chris said early on, was that the Sandman was kind of like a story about stories. I can't remember. I hope I'm not misquoting you brutally.
No.
I like this because I like standalone stuff. I like one-shot issues that tell a whole story. I like that you can mishmash Morpheus and his sister in and out of there just to keep my narrative alive, and then just sort of tell standalone stories. So I don't know if you guys have this, but I really dig and there's a foreword by him in here, Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah.
At the back it shows his script writing.
Oh yeah.
And he said, and he wrote a little bit about that it took a lot of time for him to be persuaded to publish a script, because he said it was like a magician not wanting to let you backstage when he rehearses, or the reason you don't want to wander around a film set, it spoils the magic, he said. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very cool, and you can see his kind of notes, and he actually, and I don't know if this is a standard thing, and we don't talk about this kind of stuff very often because I don't know why, it just doesn't come up or whatever, but he actually writes what he wants drawn, like to the fucking T, like
to an extent.
Well, no, look, we're looking up at the face of Rick Maddock. No panel, no border. He's in close-up, full face, looking at something below him with an expression of interested distaste. He's thin, mid-30s, red, short hair, not a classical comic book face. He's good-looking in a John Lennon-ish sort of way. Fuck, you can't misinterpret drawing that.
You get. I did want to talk about. I guess we're talking about it now, so we might as well talk about the script. I think in some instances it is very common. This is a very common, and I'd say very British script. Definitely, like if going back to, remember we were reading Mark Millar's script, and it was just like, generally speaking, it's like they're having conversations with the artist about what they want to see. It's not so static. It's not like da 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 da.
Yeah, it's not like I'm sure it's not like he doesn't know the artist already. He just, and who knows, to some degree he may even know what his artist likes, in terms of direction.
Generally speaking, well, he doesn't know Kelly Jones in this instance enough, but he knows Kelly Jones's strength. One thing about Gaiman, he insisted that he always insisted that he would know who the artist was before he wrote the script. Keeping in mind their strengths and what they like to draw and stuff like that. So there's that. But I imagine Gaiman's voice is Gaiman's voice, and he just kind of like does his Dreamweaver conversation to you. I was thinking of yeah, okay. So yeah, like here's an example of one of his panel descriptions, and we'll get to the comic in actually a second. But they're standing in front of a door. Erasmus has put the key into the lock, and it's turning the key. One bare bulb dangles from a frayed flex, lighting the hallway. It's about a 15-watt bulb, but it's a bulb, So he's like, it's not exactly, he's not describing what he wants in the panel. He's evoking what he wants in the panel, and I think that's a different thing. That's like he's storytelling to the artist just as much as us, and trying to like use the artist as a paintbrush. And you don't often see that, but I'm wondering if, again, we kind of made fun of Mark Millar for the lack of work that he put into the script. But I think this is a similar lack of work. But it's more efficient somehow. Like it's a style. Yeah. It's still in that, whereas you get like an Alan Moore, and if you want to talk about like
control,
describe everything, and just like that's a totally different beast.
Yeah, I think Gaiman wants to give his artists some breathing space to bring their own touches to it. An interesting tidbit I picked up was that he viewed these sort of like one-shot issues that he does between longer arcs as a way to not audition because he knew he was going to work with the artist, but to get a feel for them, to sort of a test drive before bringing them along on a longer arc. Mm-hmm. Kelly Jones is going to do Seasons of the Mist for a large part of that, and so this is sort of a sort of like pilot for that.
Yeah. You were going to say something, James?
No, I was just gonna say, so you guys are more familiar with, like, see, I don't, weirdly, I have a lot of collected stuff. I mostly have graphic novels. I don't really have a lot of issues anymore. I have some, but I don't know. I don't see this, but like weirdly, a lot of mine didn't have script in it, so I'm not really seeing how other bigger writers like structure their scripts. You guys seem to be familiar with like Alan Moore and stuff, but I thought this was strict, and very like gave a lot of direction to the artist, and I didn't realize that this was actually pretty loose then.
Yeah, like it's structured in a way that it's the DC style rather than the Marvel style. The Marvel style, as we talked about, is just like, okay, here's what I basically want in this issue, and here's the major story beats, and you structure it how you want, artist. But over at DC, it's like it's much more, like it's common, like panel 1, this, panel 2, this, and here's the captions that go with it, etc. And it's a pretty, so he's working within that structure, that convention. And still making it a Neil Gaiman experience, which I guess I didn't appreciate enough of until seeing the script. I've got 2 volumes, those comic book writers on comic book script writing, and they, a bunch of people, bunch of comics artists, even Chuck Dixon's in there. And you got script samples and what they mean, what they think about with script writing and that sort of thing. They all have different ways. Gaiman's is, of course, very Gaiman.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by Kelly Jones in that first book, though, too. I almost kind of forgot it was him.
Right.
Even though,
You can't mistake him.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I also can't see. Yeah, you can't really mistake him. He doesn't. He's got like such a unique style. But I really like the. I think that one was my favorite. I don't know which of the four stories was your favorite.
Oh, honestly, I think it's. I'm going to go against type. I know, like the Renaissance scholar, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, you really like this." But I think it is the. Yeah, I think it is the first one. It's the one I think about the most. How am I pronouncing this, Chris?
Calliope, I think.
Calliope. Thank you.
I could be wrong though.
I'll go with.
Yeah, I it's a toss up for me. You know what? I always faded the Shakespeare one. I don't think I ever really totally appreciated it until this reading. It grew on me more this time, and it's bumping up there. I think you're right though. Calliope, there's a lot to it. Like some of the images I go back to in my head like years later.
Oh yeah, like it just reminds me of how things have changed. Like there's a straight up, fully depicted rape scene, illustrated in Kelly Jones fashion. There's no mistaking it. She's in like some sort of dissociative state, and he's just banging away on Darla, and you're like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, it's very casual too.
Yeah.
It's glazed over the page in like a casual way, it's skirted in a way because she's a supernatural being, right? So it's like it reminds me of sort of how you get away with an R rating in a movie by doing violence upon aliens. No problem, you could splatter them because they're not human. So I think that's sort of like a little loophole in it, Like,
I guess so.
Like where you can not quite be as disturbed,
If so, then Rick Maddock, his own comment later on, where he's just like, oh, like she's not human. Like he has a moment of doubt, and he's just like, am I doing the wrong thing? But it's like, oh no, she's just a thing. She's just a property.
Well, that's what they're selling, right? That's what he's selling himself.
Yeah, honestly, man, I don't like it. There's no. I think just people just. And fine, I'm not trying to condemn this book for being like inappropriate or anything like that. Like I don't give a shit about any of that. Things have changed. And Gaiman is not someone who I think about sexual violence. I think I don't put him. He's not the rapey guy. And so
right. That's
so yeah. So I don't. That's Alan.
No, yeah. And I'm not trying to be like an apologist for that type of violence either. I just think that maybe at the time they were thinking like, since we're using, gods and demons, this is not going to be maybe looked on with quite, that much, anxiety as it would if it was just like a straight kidnapping.
Yeah, and I think there's also an appropriate amount of horror to it too. Like it's just it never loses sight of that. Like when you see the splash page when what's the writer's name? The old guy.
Erasmus Fry.
Fry, yeah. When he opens the door, he's talking like, they say you should woo the muses, but I found Force to be just as effective. And then he opens the door and she's so skinny and her rib cage is sticking out. It's just like it's really an awful image, and it's quite horrific.
Yeah, he trades him for that. Yeah. Well, he trades him for that Bezoar or whatever they're explaining at the beginning, and that's so drawn out and grotesque as well.
I think of that a lot. I go back in my head like, why would you have that? Why would you have that hairy thing in your hand?
And they're describing the smell of like undigested food, and like fuck, it's fucking gross and visceral. Like you to be able to pull that out of the story, just with writing, also, high five to everybody involved.
They did this. So I watched a little bit of the Sandman TV show, and they covered this one. They do Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope in two little 15-minute stories, like or 20 minutes or whatever. And surprise, surprise, not as rapey. they really not faithful to the text in many ways. Not that I don't need them to be, but I was like, once I saw that they did it, I was like, okay, I got to see how they handle this. They're like,
yeah. If you want faithful to the text, just skip over to the boys.
Yeah, well, just to the spirit text, to the spirit of the text. Again, not required, but I was curious. I was like, how are you going to handle this there, Gaiman? You painted yourself into a small corner.
This guy is also like, he's punished by gods in a way that he'll never recover from, like for his crimes against Calliope. Also, that's all part of the horror, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely a moralism to it. Yeah, it is a Tales from the Crypt story, and I'm going to get back to my thesis on this. It is a three witches story.
Yeah.
Because they come in the Hecate or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And so and then everything sort of played out due to their intervention, or within the frame of their intervention, and so it is. Yeah, there is retribution for for crimes against the gods, crimes against the muses. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about like some of the. I've always grappled with this volume or these little one shots, and like what purpose necessarily they serve. I think that there's these books are kind of world building stories in a way. You get a sense of the broader, like how gods interact with people in this world, and it's a bit tragicomic. Like it's there's a sense of like some lingering there's some tragedy in the fact that like it's a fallen state. Man is distant from the gods. There were better times, and but it's also like you have these aging gods too, like Ra being kind of senile and just kind of like doing his thing. The serpent's dead, but he's still gonna make these metamorphoses or whatever out of people, because that's just his deal. I don't know, and also there's sort of a theme about an anxiety about authors in these pretty clearly in this one, and then Shakespeare as well. There's sort of a moral, or not a moralism, but I guess a fear that writers are scum, or that you're taking from, you're a thief basically, stealing from experience, stealing moments from people, and it diminishes you at the same time. Very much played out between as these two writers exchange or take from Calliope and just without even the fake feminism of this guy. I consider myself a bit of a feminist author. It's so smug and smarmy, and then and like a very, like, I think a very not heartfelt, but sincere message where she confronts him. I'm flesh and blood. Like, I'm not just something that you can take from. I'm not just here to give you ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, that feminism of Gaiman cropping up, and also being, like commented upon by Gaiman, and also, I think here's, because he talks about or has written about, and and I think I understand this from other writers, and it's one of the reasons the thought of being a writer was too stressful to me. Lots of reasons I didn't go down that route, but one of them was just like, you're like constantly monitoring your fucking life. And like, what are you going to write about? You can only write about the things, like, generally speaking, you're just sort of waiting for inspiration. You're waiting for that moment of stuff, and you're taking notes down, and it's exhausting, it's fucking shitty. And then, I kind of have contempt. I have a little bit of contempt for the ethos that drives MODOK in this thing. He's got an even evil name, but I haven't written a word in a year. Nothing I haven't thrown away. Do you know what that's like when it's just you and a blank sheet of paper? Shut the fuck up. You have zero problems. Like, that's not a problem. You're fine. Go work at Arby's. You're good. Fuck.
Yeah, there's a bit of a horror of fame, even, right? Like that you know, because he's tied to the success, and now he has to follow it up, and it's that drive. It just consumes him. It makes him into a shitty person because he'll do anything to
yeah,
achieve that again.
That was I felt like that was a big part of the story too, because he didn't just break through that contract, that would have been good enough to keep working. He just chose to keep punishing her and keep her around to drive his wealth, to drive his fame.
And the way he described it, sorry, I just got to read this out loud because I'm like, nobody talks like this. And before you rape a woman, you do not say this. Are you out of your mind? This is just the beginning. Come here, gorgeous. Let's make 2.5 minutes of squelching noises.
Oh, God.
Oh, the horror. Fucking gross.
Every once in a while, Gaiman, he just writes it's not inappropriate in sort of a moralizing way. It's just a really stupid thing to say, for anyone to say, and then it's a stupid thing to have written. And every once in a while, he just does that.
Yeah, although there's some really some great, the Erasmus Fry, he's such a shit, but he's got this sleazeball old man charm to him too, in a way. When he introduces him, he's like, she was Homer's muse, so she ought to be good enough for you. That was really funny.
Mm-hmm. Go on, James.
No. I was just gonna say they. I lost it. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I guess okay. So this guy, so he's raping Calliope. He's getting all this inspiration from the muse, straight from the source. This idea that one must make love to the muse. One has to have some sort of union with it or whatever, and you can force that, however. But Pulitzer, he's winning all these prizes, and everyone's like, it really, I think, in addition to being concerned about authors, I think Gaiman maybe wants to say something, I think, about society at large here, about how we just fucking lap this shit up. We'll who cares about the cost of whatever this, best director, best actor, we just want to, it's about the entertainment industry, if nothing else. Or in addition to being a complaint about writers, is a complaint about the entertainment industry at all levels, and just how it feeds off of this exploitation. And yeah, there's just a lot packed into this by Gaiman's excellent when he's at this mythological level. He's excellent at drawing, of course, but drawing out larger meanings. You could easily fuck that up. And yeah,
it's a hard thing to do, to introduce gods into this world and it not be hokey or seem all right, man, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he strikes that balance wonderfully. When she's talking to the witches, you really get the sense that there's an old-timey conversation happening, and these ancient beings who operate on these different laws and these different rules are interacting. And I guess there's the parallel between Calliope and
Morpheus.
Yeah, they're yeah.
There's also a severity to Morpheus that's been built since the beginning, but when he enters the room, even though there's a really high chance that anyone, like you guys say, could make this really fucking cheesy. You could just be like, are you kidding? What the fuck is this? But there's actually it's severe when he intervenes on behalf of Calliope. It's scary. You're not sure how he's going to react to this guy. This guy's not going to come out any type of which way on top.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just not sure what kind of sort of nightmare awaits him. And that's sort of the established thing with Morpheus, is that he's not merciful. When he arrives, and that's when you've got I don't know, when you're working with this sort of aesthetic that they've got on Morpheus, keeping that feeling is probably pretty difficult, but he does it.
I think the trick is that getting back to the idea that there's these ancient rules, like he's like, look, I need you to, of your own will, set her free. Do it right now. And because he can't break the magic circle. So there is a rule. And so he's standing and he's just like, look, it's kind of like a vampire thing. You have to invite them into your home. It's kind of the opposite of that though. But he's like, okay, great. You're not going to do it. I'll see you later. And it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of turns into warfare of a different sort at this point. Turns into a bargaining. All right, well, I'm just going to leverage my power, and then you're going to give in. You're on strike. Fine. Hope you're going to be hungry. Let me know when you want to come back to work. And yeah, that's how he handles it. But of course, not like that, because he drives the man insane, ripping his own fucking fingers off.
Yeah, or just
and then tearing his face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very Greek. Yeah, very classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like running his fingers to the bone, like using his blood to write down these ideas that just won't stop coming.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of which are like, when I was a minor criticism, but like I thought, I was like, how do you just toss off, like, you're just wasting these ideas, they're gold. Now they just now they seem like, okay, like that wouldn't work as a story. Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, cool.
Vampires don't dance. A rose
Right,
bush.
exactly.
Yeah.
A street paved with time. What?
Yeah, he's just fucking around. He's just like saying words. Like he's just writing down. The only one that he's like, magical and alchemical traditions go as a cargo cult. And you're like, okay, whatever. Areolus Theophrastus Bombastus Paracelsus. Interestingly, his full name is Areolus. Well, actually, Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim is the full name of the guy who is Paracelsus. But anyway, and there's also Raymond Lilly. We're the same man. And I was like, okay, that's kind of a fun idea. You might do that as a historical drama. But otherwise, yeah. It was dumb, but it was fine. Like, he didn't really mind.
Yeah, because it's like a torrent of ideas. Who cares?
Yeah,
I did like the idea of a biography of Keith's written from a Lamia's point of view. That was kind of fun.
I like the old man in Sunderland who owned the universe in a jam jar in the cupboard. That was like a Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah, that could be something. You're right.
There's some stuff here. We got to workshop it.
Yeah.
You know what? The best homage thing that we could do is a short story collection based off these ideas.
Yeah, get Neil on the phone.
Yeah,
we'll get him involved.
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not. I am, after all,
too many
terrified of
cooks.
the Dreamweaver.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Go on, Chris.
The one thing I wanted to bring up, I've never understood this. What the fuck is the point of the Bezoars? Like, the guy Erasmus is collecting them. He's got them in a vault. They're they're like literally in magical traditions a sort of miracle cure. Then he dies of poison. Like, what? What kind of dipshit like dies of poison without? Like, yeah, it's implied it's a suicide. I guess he can't get his book republished. But why? What was the point of collecting them?
It's fine, honestly, man. It's the Rapunzel syndrome. It's the maiden trapped in the tower. It was just like, I think Gaiman just had a cool image and a cool idea that he read in a book, and he ran with it, and through that associative logic, tried to wring something out of it. I think it's the weakest part of the story, though. I agree with you, because I found myself stopping and going like, well, something like, okay, it's poetic that he died of poison while he had all these anti-poison things, but so what?
What's weird too? I thought to myself, if you think about like old rich people, I thought, geez, I wonder if the queen had one of those, but then the queen died.
Oh shit.
But she was like 111 or whatever, right?
Yeah. Just her time.
Didn't quite have the
She didn't have the right one.
Yeah. Or she did. that's why she lasted so long. But yeah. So anyway, this guy fucking ends up a vegetable without any ideas. Oh wait, sorry. On page 22, there's kind of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen. I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but this idea that like, oh, the genre fiction shouldn't have won the Booker Prize or something like that, and this is a mere 2 issues before Gaiman writes a story that's going to win the World Fantasy Award unexpectedly for like, what was it, best short story or something like that?
Yeah, best short fiction or whatever. And a lot of authors really like kicked up a fuss about that too. Like I think they later on introduced a rule where a comic couldn't qualify for the story.
That sucks. Harlan Ellison later on, when Harlan Ellison does an introduction later, he comments on this and how fucking cowardly everybody was. And that's the only one of the introductions that I remember reading. And I know Clive Barker does one, and it never stuck with me. And Stephen King did one, and that never stuck with me. But of course, old Harlan.
Stephen King's kind of like I don't know.
I think Stephen did one. Am I wrong about that?
Stephen King's
do one.
He's neat. He's kind of a shill, though, isn't he?
Yes, he's such a shill. But I think it's sort of like, I think he looks at it as like, I will help any writer out, like, because it's so hard to get established in this. I don't think he's like necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a bad guy or anything. I just feel like he just.
But he'll do like 60 a year, and it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing. Sorry, I don't want to go off on a tangent about Stephen King, but
poor Stephen King, he doesn't deserve this.
One of the reasons my understanding is one of the reasons there's so many Stephen King movies is that he sells the rights to young directors at like at a pittance, so that way they can get established. And of course, it never hurts to have a movie out there about your books, right? You know, it's kind of a symbiotic thing.
Yeah.
But that's my understanding. Yeah, why is Stephen King so popular? Because he hustles. Like we're talking like, oh, he's a shill. Yeah, but like the flip side of that is like, that's how you stay relevant. He's
a hustler. Yeah. He also like, sorry, but he has some sick fucking ideas too. He's a great idea man, and he delivers. You're gonna get disturbed, you know, at least by one of the ideas and one of his little fucking things. And he's a good build man. He builds it up, fucking delivers the payload. He's like the Mark Miller of horror writer.
Oh shit. Okay, well we got to talk about this time, but yeah, you might be right about that. Okay, so Dream of Cats. Kelly Jones still on this one. In the companion,
Kelly Jones, great cat artist.
He wasn't supposed to. No, man. He wasn't. The companion is like, he wasn't supposed to be the artist here. No one who they showed the script to was willing to draw it, because none of them, you know, like, cause so many, it's not like the olden days of like the 40s and 50s when you had to like actually know how to illustrate things. Like comics art is, you can kind of fuck around and you can get away with stuff like doing punk music or something. And Kelly Jones was the only one who stepped up as like, yeah, I want to draw a bunch of cats.
You know how fucking hard this would have been?
Oh my god, of course. It's incredibly hard. And that's why no one wanted to do it, because they were like, oh, it's an actual test of my fucking skill. It's like it was a story based on a bunch of horses. Everybody would shit their pants.
No, fuck that. Yeah. Imagine Liefeld at the helm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh,
muscular cats.
Someone's been doing Watchmen. What if Rob Liefeld illustrated Watchmen? And they're replacing.
Oh, come on.
They're replacing panels with like reminiscent images of Liefeld. And yeah, it's choice. It's anyway.
Good effort. I like that idea.
Yeah. I think they have a Twitter fucking do it guy. So anyway, I don't really, personally, I don't have a lot to say about this story. I think it kind of reveals something about the metaphysics of dreams, but it's kind of a cute story. But I personally, I don't have anything to say, but I'd be curious to hear what you fellas might have.
No, I'm in the same breath. It's like the whole, I was a little horrified with the baby cats in the bag, even though, you've heard that story. from old grandpas telling it. Oh, that's how we used to deal with fucking unwanted puppies. Like, congratulations, you guys were horror shows. But you know, other than that, and then the you know, sort of like strive for justice, and then like then the cats become these big like dominant creatures, and there's this weird backstory. But I think the same thing applied to the Shakespeare story that Chris was saying was a lot of this is like universe building. Now I know there's like there's a fae, you know, there's a fairyland or whatever. There's additional gods and monsters in there that interact with other gods, you know. And now I'm building up to the like this whole like cat mythology. It's just like you're just like opening up, just opening doors and leaving them open kind of as he goes. Making the world bigger for sort of Morpheus and the stories to flow through, which is I don't know, I've never seen anything like it really. So
I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, actually.
Yeah,
like opening up doors and leaving them open, because that's exactly what. Yeah, you're going to see that's like so often throughout Sandman, and particularly in these one-offs. That's more or less exactly what happens. Yeah,
I didn't have a lot on this one either. I think it's neat to see that dream serves all life, and that again, they kind of see him as this dream cat. It's just, other than that, it's just the old Mage the Ascension, like consensual reality, right? Like it's like if 1,000 cats can dream that they're in charge, then they'll be in charge. And then the punchline, of course, that if you can get 1,000 cats to do anything, it's just not gonna happen, buddy. There's some nice touches too, like it does feel like if cats told myths about themselves, you know, like once there were giant cats and they were big, but then we were diminished, and you know, it's a cute story. It's a fun story, but there's really not a whole lot to say about it.
Yeah, the art's fantastic. I just want to emphasize that over and over. And getting to the metaphysical things of how dreams work, you know, there's that, you know, are you looking for justice? Are you looking for wisdom? Those things, dream has nothing to do with those. But if you're looking for revelation, come on down. You know, you can get this here. But in order to, you know, but you're going on a vision quest. It's like this, the description of what the cat goes through in order to like reach this final stage. Like,
that was a cool moment.
Yeah.
The imagery of going down into the cave, like going into the unconscious for insight or this revelation from dream.
I think it's even deeper than that, though. Like there's something not just the unconscious, but like it's a mystical experience where one enters into nothingness and comes back, you know, like has a sort of gets closer to, you know, in the Neoplatonic tradition, you'd be like you're like going up the chain of being. Because we were talking about, so there's, you know, we've got death. We're going to meet destiny. Destiny exists in the comics, though, so it's not really like a big reveal. And then there's dream. And so, like, if creation and existence is flowing down from that, like, this is that moment where, like, dream is kind of revealed in this potentially, although all stories are fucking just stories. He has something fundamental to do with, like, being.
It's reality itself.
Yeah, which, you know, we touched on that in the last time we talked, but this book kind of like, this story helps us to think about that some more, and in order to see what reality is, like, one can go through the dream. And I don't know if this is, I think some of the, like, I think Gaiman's gonna, like, I was kind of flipping through the kindly ones the other day. I was kind of flipping through it, and I came across a couple lines that made me think that, like, he's gonna riff off all this shit later in a kind of a sort of a jazzy way, when he's like, oh yeah, remember that shit I said like 5 years ago? I better pick up again. So good for him. So I just kind of wanted to draw it out because I thought actually these sort of musings are adding up to something.
Oh, I have to say, every time I see a cat like sleeping and twitching, I'm like, you fucking bastard. Don't be dreaming yourself on top.
Don't you throw it in the lake, man.
Bag them up. Get rid of him.
Yeah. So, all right, we've got, I don't know. Do we have Shakespeare?
No, yeah, Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah. Looks amazing. Let's talk about Charles Vess first. Love.
Oh,
Holy shit,
yeah.
eh?
Love the
the
Charles
art.
Vess. This guy is actually no. Wait, sorry, that's the wrong guy I'm thinking of. He's an American artist, though. Look up. Okay, if anyone listening, just Google Google Charles Vess. He looks exactly like you think this motherfucker is gonna look. Exactly like you think he's gonna look.
You know what?
Like Gilbert?
Yeah,
I
just
gotta get on this.
yeah. Give yourself a treat. You're gonna be like, oh boy, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got full fairy mullet going.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Oh, man, he's got like magic rocks dangling from the old necklace there. Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to Scarborough Fair.
Yeah.
This guy's a spirit quester.
Yeah, he's living it. So, and it comes in the art, man. Like he's a fantasy artist, like a pure one, like in the way that Jim Ballard is a pure pervert. Charles Vess is,
He's enchanted. His art
Yes.
is really incredible. Yeah, no, it's
He is
there's
fucking. He looks fucking enchanted.
he's an author too. I'm pretty sure. I think he writes. Yeah, does he write books too?
Oh my goodness, I don't know a thing about him.
I hope
I
so.
think he does.
I'd like a book of his weird fucking magic art.
I probably shouldn't have just opened that door. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He does
Does
stuff.
not-
He definitely does art.
yeah. Oh, and everybody makes okay. So up until this point, we've got Robbie Bush doing the coloring. At least I don't have the deluxe edition, so I didn't have an opportunity to see. I mean, I guess I had an opportunity. I could have borrowed it off Hoopla to see the recoloring.
Yeah, I didn't look on the recoloring either. I've still got the old whatever this is, like a 90s publishing. But
Yeah.
the color is still improved in this, like to the previous two books.
Yeah, but this
This is
one,
90.
this Midsummer Night's Dream is by a guy named Steve Olive, and it's far better. This is so good, and if they touch this in the collected editions, they're insane.
Yeah.
This is far and above better colored than anything that even when you go over to actually no Olive continues with the Metamorpho girl, but I think something's missing. Maybe he just he works extremely well with the lightness. It kind of reminds me of Minara. There is a lightness to Charles Vess's art.
Yeah. And a softness. Like there's something.
Yeah.
It's just perfect for the subject matter.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then so let's to the subject matter then. What did you make of this one, James? I'm super curious, like, because I couldn't. I mean, me and Chris, for lots of reasons, have a lot of baggage to bring to this one, and I'm curious about how it comes across as just an issue.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna come as a surprise to anyone, but I don't care for Shakespeare.
Yeah, totally fine.
That's fair.
Don't like it. Don't care for it. I did like I like what was going on in the background. I like the fairies. I also like the cutting. Like I like the cast cutting behind scenes and talking.
Mm-hmm.
Those little bits. And then I like the monsters sort of like talking to each other. These are mortal mating rituals, something like that. Scarrow, this kind of stuff back and forth. And the one thing is like talking about them probably being better meals than anything else. And then they have like the imp kind of getting involved. And he actually gets involved in the play or whatever.
Yeah,
in like a bizarro way. But I like that. I like that back and forth. I thought it was cool and artsy, but I glazed over, and I'm sure the bits of the Shakespeare play that they use here, it's what fucking Hamlet, one of the comedy ones, and
Dream. Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't like reading it, so I skim it and then I would go to the in between parts. But
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sure that may be sad because I'm sure that Neil chose parts of that play that tie in directly to what he's up to here. But yeah,
not exactly. No, well, he in his own words, he was just like in the extended interview, he was just like, I just grabbed bits from the play so that way, like the major beats, so that way you didn't have to read the play to understand what was happening on the stage, on the quote unquote stage. I would argue, there's like a thematic, like you do not need to have read the play to get this clearly, because I feel you got it great, and that's Gaiman's done his job then. Check. And then there's like kind of a little bit of a level beyond that, kind of like a meta level where like, there's a play within a play, and just like in Midnight's Dream. But I think also, even though this is incredibly meticulous, I feel like like Grant Morrison's use of Shelley, it's sort of a facile use of Midsummer Night's Dream. It's a clever trick. He's doing a clever trick, but at the end of the day, like I was just like, like, so what? This doesn't tell us anything about Sandman, the larger story. Like this doesn't reverberate like an explosion in issue 75 or anything like that.
It's true. I'm going to disagree with that a little bit. I part agree with you, but I think I saw a little bit more into it this time. There's, so for example, that speech is a very famous speech, the madman, the poet and the lover are of an imagination compact. That's all about this idea of like imagination, just kind of like putting scales over people's eyes, and that touches on the heart of this whole. It's exactly what we were talking about with the Calliope issue. So there's this again that sort of. Throughout this whole thing, they ask is it Hamnet? Yeah, Hamnet, right?
Hamnet, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, you must be so proud of your dad, and he says, like honestly, like it's like he's not even there anymore. It's he's very distant, Tommy. He doesn't seem to really be there anymore. Anything that happens, he just makes stories out of it. I'm less real to him than any character in his play. If I died, we joke that if I died, he'd just write a play about it, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, Hamlet, was part of it. Yeah, exactly. So there's that. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think there's definitely a theme running throughout the whole series about creators and their, I don't know, the distance from creation or just being able to see things accurately, and that reverberates.
That's fine. Yeah, if Gaiman wants to talk about himself, comparing himself to William Shakespeare or something.
Oh, and he definitely is, sure.
I guess you're welcome to do that, Dreamweaver. But it, like, again, so we don't need to get into it heavily, but like the story, because like A Midsummer Night's Dream is basically a romantic comedy. It's like a screwball comedy where everybody's falling in love with everybody and fucking, because they're either confused or there's a magic potion or and there's all sorts of like play within a play, but that doesn't I guess my point is that it doesn't mirror the attitude and tenor of Sandman. The only thing that I kind of hit upon was like the sort of like the machinations of desire are contained within the play. All of a sudden,
true.
All of a sudden, Sandman's like his attitudes change. He's like just like Hermia's like I don't know what makes me do this, and then what's his Demetrius? He's just like, she used to love me, and then just one day she didn't. And it's just about the capriciousness of passion and desire, and then the comedy and drama that emerges from that. That strikes me as relevant to the larger story of Sandman. And of course there's dreams, right? Fine. But that just strikes me as easy. That's low hanging fruit. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a book about,
Yeah.
it's a play about dreams. Okay, great. There's lots of plays about dreams.
Now there is something, a tantalizing hint that I found interesting, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but Tatiana, is that, yeah, Tatiana, she's kind of talking with Dream throughout the play, and she's kind of like there's subtext to their conversation, where she says, I think the play they're performing in Midsummer Night's Dream is Pyramus and Thisbe, and she says, "It seems to me that I've heard this tale sung once in Old Greek by a boy with a lyre," and so probably she's talking about Orpheus, right? And so what's going on here is I at first I thought maybe is this some sort of sacrifice where like he's setting up Will to lose his son as a sacrifice to the fairy queen, but I don't think he knows that she's about to prey on that boy. Like I think that he's naive about it, because they have that conversation later where he's like, am I doing the right thing? But I think that maybe he commissions these two plays, right? So Midsummer Night's Dream and then The Tempest later on. Yeah. I wonder if this one is about honoring his son.
Okay, man. You know what? I hadn't considered that. We're kind of spoilering a little bit, but there's definitely that. I think though that we don't need to hang on this too long. But in the play, in Midsummer Night's Dream, Oberon and Titania are they're quarreling over the fact that there's this Indian boy that Oberon wants to like hunt with. He's like, "Give me your boy," and she's like, "No, this little boy used to worship me. The mother of this boy used to worship me long ago, and so I keep him close to me." And so Hamnet is equivalent to that little Indian boy in this.
Right.
There's the little, I guess.
Yeah, and she's full on, like, she's like Pennywise the clown, like when she's like talking to him between, and there's a beautiful place, and there's always candy, and there's always cakes. Yeah, we all float down here.
Yeah, that's two references to Orpheus, and Calliope. This is again like Gaiman setting the table. He's always setting the table. I always want to compare it to Chris Claremont, but Chris Claremont was just doing it like in a haphazard sort of way. But it's in this same tradition where you're just like, okay, like if you're going to have a monthly comic, just constantly drop shit that you got to pick up later. Normally though, you only do that because you've got a monthly grind and you're just a hack. Gaiman's got the unfortunate task of like being a hack and then having to wrap it up at the end.
Yeah, he fucking weaved it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, he totally did.
What you were saying about Tatiana there was that little bit on the very last page, right, where they all kind of wake up in a field, and you kind of like, is that like a cheap out that the whole thing was a dream? But then they basically get cheated. He gets no gold. So then the whole thing was like a fantasy, but then the kid says there's a lady that's going to take him off into the distance, and then it says Hamnet, Shakespeare died.
Right.
At the end. So that sort of like reinforces what Chris was sort of theorizing, that he was sacrificed to the fairy god. But then again, I sort of like the first time read through thought, was that death that just took him? And it was unassociated from the play. I don't know.
Well, I feel like it doesn't. It's I find that last little caption a very unfulfilling. Although she's talking about she's going to take him and stuff like that. To my knowledge, there's no picking up on this. I think he just fucking died. And then Robin Goodfellow was supposed to be in the story, the Calliope story.
Right.
And, so Robin Goodfellow, to my recollection, doesn't show up again. I might be completely wrong about that. It's been a little while. I think this is some stuff that gets dropped down, but kind of Gaiman You know when you're at a show or maybe at like a stage show when like the people are juggling and someone like drops the fucking thing and then they just keep going and you know they just you're at Cirque du Soleil and you see clearly they fucked up but then the show goes on. I think I think this is
That's probably true.
yeah.
Yeah. But I really love how the the sort of like dual sinister nature or potentially just dangerous nature of fairy tricks in this. They're very true to that idea. You just don't know what their designs are, and I think even like clearly Dream is fooled as he's talking to Tatiana. Just like I think that speech is great, where he's Will is a willing vehicle for the great stories. Through him they'll live and age, but he doesn't really know what he's doing. He didn't know what the price. Mortals never do. They only see the prize, their heart's desire, their dream. And so and she's just kind of like, yeah, it's great play, Lord Shaper. Most of you can find, And then the next image is like the actor, I can't, basically saying like I can't explain. There's no way I can explain what my dream was. And you see all the fairies, and they're just like just a horde of dark shadows with these red grins. It's really creepy, really really well done.
I think that's one of the again getting back to this idea that this could have been so fucking cheesy. Like the fairies they are not fairies as we understand them. Like they're fairies as they ought to be understood, as monstrous creatures of the night, like vampires and weird
tricks that are
Robin Goodfellow is like when they're like more like a fucking crazy guy, shh, don't let him hear you.
The most Tinkerbellish one, like there's that little goat creature, like is constantly just like, it'd be better if we ate all these people.
Yes, yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
And and that's it's good. Like this is not by no stretch of the imagination is this a bad comic. I do wonder, and it's like a typical Sandman comic. It's far and above anything else in its weight class. It's just like it's the heavyweight shit. You got your Alan Moore doing his stuff over there, but I think he's long at this point exited the stage. He's in that phase where he's like, I'm not going to play in your sandbox, before he makes his Image come back. And so like Gaiman's the big show, and this is a big show, but maybe it deserves the World Fantasy Award. What the fuck do I know? But like, I just wonder if this like just, it's about Shakespeare, right? So it's smart. And there's a cynicism to me that's just like, like everybody thought this was a big deal because comics did Shakespeare.
I think there's probably a shadow of that for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's what always sort of puts me off too. When I'm reading it, I'm like, okay. Yay, brilliant.
Right.
Yeah,
because just evoking Shakespeare is like, I don't know, like there's your literary points, right?
Yeah, and I've got issue 20. I bought of the, I saw it at the comic shop. It was issue 23 of Sandman, and so I just picked it up February 1991, and the letters page happens to be the letters page of everybody's reaction to this story. And these are huge letters, and everybody's so fucking effusive. They're fair. I think they're fair letters. It's a very literate audience. And everybody's really into it, and they're describing Charles Best's work is so good, the coloring's so good, this is amazing. But at the same time, it's just like, this is the best comic I've ever read. You're like, I don't know. I just thinking about Shakespeare as an industry. Thinking of it like, because he's a like, what is class, right? Shakespeare. What is high art? Shakespeare. And there's always been something about Sandman and the Gaiman's piggybacking off of the literary credentials of Shakespeare that have irked me, and I wonder whether or not like that too is part of Gaiman's why he was so successful in the long run.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not totally wrong.
Yeah. He does a great job of it. I'm not like this isn't a fucking amateur hour.
No, it's an entertaining story about Shakespeare that probably isn't as like reaching the heights that it appears to at first glance.
Yeah. Also, Midsummer Night's Dream. At the time, I don't know what Gaiman was reading. Like I'm not. This isn't me being a dick, but just it turns out he says this is in 1593. It's actually the play was appears to have been written in 1595.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's not to throw shade at. I'm sure whatever Gaiman was reading, it made a lot of sense at that time. I don't know about how to date these fucking things. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare. The scholarship surrounding Shakespeare is, you might as well start reading about biblical scholarship. There's so much of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so then a lady wants to commit suicide.
I dig it.
Yeah.
What was wrong? I didn't really establish what was wrong with her either. She looked like multiple man because the coloring was just bad.
The color's really, yeah, you're right. The color's awful on this one.
And that's weird. It's Steve Olive, right? Like it's the same colorist, and you're like, how did you fuck this up? You just can't.
Yeah.
So it's a different. Colleen Doran is the penciler. You got Malcolm Jones, the third inker. It just feels like over inked.
Did he not like Colleen? He's just like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna use crayons. You got one orange leg, one gray leg.
It's like
fuck this
like
book.
who's a metamorpho? She's supposed to look all fucked up like that.
Yeah, you could try to sell that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so muddy looking. Yeah, it's very strange.
I feel like again, I feel it's over inked, and so like it does, because again, Vess? I think Vess inks himself, and it's very light, so there's lots of space, and also it's very literally light. There's a lot of sunlight, and maybe Olaf doesn't work well in indoor spaces. Yeah, it just fucking feels garbage.
There's no fucking backgrounds either.
Yeah, the best panels are like the sun and like when she goes out for dinner with her friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even going out for where did she go out for dinner? Like a fucking pink bathroom? I don't know what I'm even looking at.
Well, that's Colleen Doran's fault. She's
Colleen did a very nice job on Death. Those panels I like. Like the when she goes on the monologue.
Yes. Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, the whole thing kind of came apart.
Yeah.
The backgrounds, the lack of backgrounds is extremely, it just takes place in this pink hue. I think that is a problem. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's no backgrounds on fucking anything. Like, very frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know if I have much on this story either. It's just like, it feels like I would be surprised if there's fan pressure to get Death back in there. So it's a good, like, it's a fine story. It's not, it's nothing wrong with it, but
I think if I had to guess, I'd say Gaiman, he wanted to scratch an itch. So about Elemental Girl, nobody, like, Gaiman was the only person that like remembered that she was in some comic way the fuck back when, and he called Karen Berger and he's like, I want to kill Elemental Girl, and she's like, who? So she went and talked to fucking Paul Levitz, and Paul Levitz like jerked off into a cup or something like that, and they're like, ugh. And then they got the okay to kill Elemental Girl or whatever her fucking name is. And so that was basically it. He was just looking for someone who was so vague and unknown and potentially maybe wanted to die. And he just kind of wanted to tell a death story. Like, I guess that's my sense of it. And he originally had this idea of someone like using a face as an ashtray. That's what he says. And so he kind of built from that. And it's pretty effective. It's a good death story. It's a nice little, you learn more about death and like her position in the universe. That whole like, I'll put up the chairs and the tables, turn out the lights, and lock the universe when I leave. I think, he probably just wanted to write those lines.
Yeah, Colleen Doran too kind of deserves a little bit of credit. She did some like she did try like with that face falling off in the dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a risky play in terms of like what I'm conveying to the audience, like art wise.
Yeah.
That was a tricky thing to do, and it was gross and strange, and that'll probably stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that comes from Gaiman. Like, so Colleen Doran, I haven't spent a lot of time with her. She was like a self-published. She started a series called A Distant Soil. It's like a sci-fi space opera sort of thing.
Right.
I can
I
tell.
remember that one.
In 1979, and there were some rights issues or whatever, but she ended up starting up again, and so she's still doing it. I think I might be wrong about that. At the very least, like she's a self-published figure who was well thought of, and yeah, I don't know, maybe she was busy, but like it's a shame because like I'm really with James. I think the biggest problem with this issue is that there's no backgrounds, and the colorist comes in to fill the backgrounds, and it just makes it feel so fucking heavy. And it wouldn't need to be. You could handle this some other way. At the same time, it's very good at expressing emotion, and women, and particularly women. This is just again getting to the feminism of Sandman. There's just a bunch of women, and it's all about some guy who fucked them over or fucked her over.
It's true, and there, like, I mean, like to kind of like go with that too. The like you said, the art feels really heavy. I mean, I did feel a little bit locked in a room.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give too much credit here for not rendering any fucking backgrounds at all and say like, oh, you wanted us to feel like we were just trapped in like a dead space. Like sort of that, I would think that that's maybe just like an accident, but it does work with the story, like in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a claustrophobia to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also maybe the story, like she's like, I want to die, but she's like thinking about the way she was like, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that if I was at the center of a nuclear blast that I would still survive it. Or if I like myself into a bunch of particles, I would still be conscious. Like, how do I die?
Yeah, it's super awful.
Mm-hmm.
That sticks with you. I really go ahead, James.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, what happened to her? Also, like, she just got like Play-Doh squished by Ra. Is that?
Well, as a kid, like younger, like how'd she get her power?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, she just got
He just used his thumbs and squished her.
I guess I never read this.
Like, it was pretty fucked up.
It's sort of implied that like she says like this isn't what it actually happened, but like it's how my mind remembers it. Like she just, I guess she's not able to interpret the experience of it.
Yeah. It's a straight up like God's rape scene, like, and he's just like mutilating her body between his legs. The brave ones who seek my gift. And you're like,
fuck, no thanks.
I love Death's like just like sort of like take on it's just sad and pathetic. It's like, yeah, his never-ending battle against Apep, the serpent that never dies. Dumb. I told him the serpent that never dies is dead. I took her 3,000 years ago. The never-ending battle ended.
Yeah. And it's like the obsessions of. I'm going to keep harping on this over the course of our reading. It is the obsessions of masculinity. It's the the things that defined you as a man, Ra, are gone.
Very true.
Sort of
yeah.
You're on this nonsense, and as a consequence, people are getting hurt. It's just all there.
Yeah.
And,
I kind of thought we'd fall flat on that one a little bit. That last one was not a high watermark for the given those first three issues, but
no.
It's a shame. It's kind of as a collection, it ends off. It's not weak by any stretch, but it's I think you would have wanted a Midsummer Night's Dream to have ended this one off.
Yes.
I think then it would have been like, dun, 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 you know, like Shakespeare in the Park.
But you know what, guys? Reading these over, like I just felt like it's come together. Like finally, like all the pieces. I breezed through them. It was like even though there's a lot of text, like it was just like I was hooked right on. It's definitely time to move on to the next big arc. But that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we're in prime. Sandman's running. The engine's cooking.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I got 4, and then I'm into the deluxe editions.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got volume 3. That thing sounds. It's on the way, but it's huge, man. It's got issues. It's like collections 5, 6, and 7 contained within inside. Like that's gonna be a huge book.
You got that? Yeah, number 3. That one's probably the Cadillac because it's got the 3 trades in it, right? Wild. The other ones sort of have like a bit of patchwork, like supplementaries kind of, but that one's just got 3 straight trades in it.
Yeah, I want not to we're fucking just advertising for DC Comics right now, but volume 2 sounds really interesting to me because it's got all this, it's got all the the Winter's Edge, and it's just like all the different one shots and offshoots, and it's like you get the special features, right? I want all this stuff. Like now that we're doing the review, I want a proper review of all the stuff. But it's out of print, man. You cannot get that anywhere. It's not on
what?
It's not on volume 2. The deluxe editions, you can't get. It's not on Bezos's fucking machine. It's not on.
You can't get it on Bezos?
Oh. No, man, it's out. It's gone.
Where were you on that one, Blue Origin?
What?
The ship.
He brought them on the Blue Origin.
The Dick Rocket. Fucking put them on Mars, son of a bitch. Yeah. No, so that's weird. That's weird because I got 3, 4, and 5 pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you still can. But
yeah, I got them all on sale too.
Yeah, well, congrats, but you can't get number 2. Yeah, so they're gonna have to do
now I want to I feel like it's a challenge.
Oh well, good luck, cause
no, I'm just fucking around. I got the first 4 volumes. I'm gonna be happy with an ugly little patchwork Sandman collection.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. How do we wrap this up? We like Sandman. This is good.
That's perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, real nice.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.